Greetings to all my tech heads out there in the KevTechify Nation, and if you're new here, welcome. In this episode, we're going to look at verifying and troubleshooting EtherChannel. We'll be discussing how to verify EtherChannel, common issues with EtherChannel configurations, and finally, how to troubleshoot EtherChannel. This episode is part of my series on switching, routing, and wireless essentials. I'm Kevin here at KevTechify. Let's get this adventure started. There are some commands here that will help you look at the status of your EtherChannel, figure out what's wrong, and hopefully fix it. Now, the first one here is the show interfaces port channel. Now, this is going to give you general status of your EtherChannel port channel. It's just going to give you some general overall information. A lot of times you can deduce kind of what's wrong from there. Then the next one is show EtherChannel summary. This is going to give you one line of information per port channel. So for every port channel, you're going to get one line of information it's going to give you. It's just a nice summary overall view of all of your port channels. Show EtherChannel port channel displays information about the specific channel interface. So this is where you're going to get the details of it. The summary gave you one line per port channel. This is going to give you a lot more information. This will get you into the fine details here. And then the show interfaces EtherChannel, it's going to provide some information about the role of the physical member interface. So you can actually see what the physical interfaces are doing, what they're acting, what they're set as. There are some issues we see with EtherChannel. When people set them up and configure them, there are some common issues we see. Now, the first one is they have to be the same configuration. All your physical interfaces need to be set the same. They need to have the same speed, same duplex, same native VLAN if they're trunks, same allowed VLANs if they're trunks also. So you got to make sure that those are all configured the same, all physical ports on both sides. Now, some other things here are ports not in the same VLAN are not configured as trunks. A lot of times, like I said, you're going to configure it as a trunk, so both ends need to be a trunk. They all need to be together. You have to make sure that your trunking is turned on. Sometimes, for some reason, your trunking is turned off. You got to make sure it's turned on. Also, on some switches, they have more than one or two modes for trunking. You have to make sure your trunking mode is turned on your EtherChannel and they're set the same. Once again, make sure your allowed VLANs are the same. Also have to make sure that your negotiation options are set the same. If you have two autos or two passives, they're just going to sit back and say, hey, I'll negotiate, but somebody has to start it. And so we see a number of different issues here as we get going. Now, let's work through an example here. Here we have EtherChannel setup. We have switch 1, switch 2, from switch 1, fast Ethernet 1 to switch 2, fast Ethernet 1, we have a physical connection, port 2 on both switches. We have that connection, and then we've created the EtherChannel. Once again, you can tell we have an EtherChannel because it's got the circle around it here. It happens to be a purple one, but EtherChannel is just not working. We're not able to send data across there. We have it configured, but it's not working. So let's go through some troubleshooting. First thing I would do is do the show EtherChannel summary. That's right here. Do a show channel ether summary. They give us a listing here of what all the abbreviations mean, but down here is what we're looking at. So our first port channel group, port channel 1 here, has an S and a D. S means we're on a layer 2. D means it is down. So it is down and down. And then we can look at the ports on S1, the physical ports, and we can see that fast Ethernet 1 is down and fast Ethernet 2 is down. So we have several things that are down. Odds are if we fix one of them, they'll probably take care of the rest. Now, this was the show summary, so it gives us a nice little layout of it. Next thing I would enter in here is I'd look at our running configuration. Up here, entered in show run, and then I put the pipe sign. That's the key above the enter key. You hit shift. And then where it begins with our port channel interfaces. So it's going to list out some information. This is on switch 1. So we have port channel 1 here. trunk allowed, and it lists our VLANs 1, 2, and 20, and we're in a mode trunk. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Our Ethernet ports, once again, we're using fast Ethernet 1 and 2. We're allowing the correct VLANs. That looks good. They are mode trunk. That looks good. And then our channel group 1 is mode on. It's mode on. Now, this all looks good on this side. We have to check the other side. So right here, we can see that on switch 2, we ran the same command again. We ran the same command. So we get trunk allowed. We are allowing the same VLANs. We are mode trunk. So that is matching here between these two port channels on switch 1 and switch 2. Then we get down to fast Ethernet. We're allowing the correct VLANs across. We are both in mode trunk. So that's looking good. And then down here, our channel, we are in mode desirable. So on switch 2, we are in desirable, but on switch 1, we are in mode 1. Now remember, switch 2 is running desirable. Desirable is like, hey, I'm looking for a connection. I want to make a connection. Let's make that connection. It's out there actively looking for it. So it's actively looking to make that. Where switch 1, its mode was on. On is, hey, we're an EtherChannel, but we're not going to negotiate. And so we're not negotiating on switch 1. This is why our connection isn't working. We have on one side, we have desirable on the other side. On means we're not negotiating. Now, let's go ahead and take care and fix that. To start this over, what we have to do is you delete the port channel. You delete that logical interface. And so how we delete something in the Cisco world, you put the word no before it, and then you put the command in. And so that deletes our port channel 1, or EtherChannel 1. Now let's start the whole process over. We're going to go interface. We're going to use a range of fast Ethernets here, fast Ethernet 1 and 2. Once we're in that range of interfaces, we're going to create a channel group 1, and then we're going to set that mode for desirable. Once again, we're on switch 1. It was on, and now we're changing it to desirable. Because we just created it, we do a no shutdown. I'm always in the habit of, anytime you do anything to an interface, a physical interface, a logical interface, always do a no shutdown. That's just something that automatically happens when I configure my devices. Do a no shutdown, we exit out. Now let's go into our physical interfaces. And so we do the interface with the range command, our 2 physical fast Ethernet there. We say, okay, you're going to belong to our channel group of 1 with our mode desirable. And so these 2 should match here, which then that matches across to switch 2. We do the no shutdown again. We go into the port channel. Now that we've added ports, we say, okay, you are the mode trunk, and we can exit out. So we went through, we deleted that first port channel, we recreated it, we added in the ports, and then we turned that port channel into a trunk. After we've done that, now let's go back and do our show EtherChannel summary again, right here. We do that, and we can look down here at the bottom for our port channel 1 here. We now have an S and a U. S is our layer 2, because we're on a switch, and then U means we're in use. We're actually using it. It's not down anymore. And if you look over here at our ports, there have a P. And P is, it's in a bundled port channel. So they are part of a port channel. Fast Ethernet 1, Fast Ethernet 2. Everything is working. All we had to do is change the mode. But to change the mode, you had to delete it, recreate it, add in the ports, and then set the mode type. It was my pleasure to provide you with this wonderful episode on verifying and troubleshooting EtherChannel. If you like this episode and you got value out of it, and of course, depending upon what platform you're using, please click that like button, give a 5-star rating, leave a comment. This all helps me bring you more great content. Please take a minute to subscribe to my channel. All of my socials and contact information are on my website, KevTechify.com, and you can get all these episodes in video and podcast form. In the upper right is my playlist for my series on switching, routing, and wireless essentials. In the bottom right is one of my favorite videos that I linked just for you. Thank you so much for watching this episode of my series on switching, routing, and wireless essentials. Once again, I'm Kevin. This is KevTechify. I'll see you next time for another great adventure.